everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Sharon and this is a channel that is dedicated to all things related to narcissism. I've been married to a covert narcissist for almost 20 years. I'm separated from him now, and what I do with this channel is I use my real life experiences to get information out there to people about what narcissism really is, what it looks like, what it does to you, and what it does to your family. Today's video is going to be part one of a two-part series entitled Things Narcissists Do. Over the next two videos, I'm going to discuss 10 things specific to narcissists. Now, of course, there are more than 10, but this is a start. So let me know in the comments if you recognize any of these, and especially let me know any that I missed. Certainly, there are more than 10. So the reality is that if you are in a relationship with a narcissist, you actually live in hell. There isn't a relationship. What it is unendurable agony. Essentially, there's a severely mentally ill person destroying the soul of the partner. So I'm going to go ahead and begin with the first sign. The first one I'm going to talk about is they hold grudges. Nobody can hold a grudge like a narcissist. Literally, a narcissist will spend years ruminating and plotting revenge. They never forgive. They never forget. The person that they believe wronged them must pay. A narcissist has a massive ego and a long memory. No one can go near them without being an eternal enemy. You hurt a narcissist. Say you did this inadvertently 20 years ago. You don't even remember what happened. The narcissist does. When they see you, they're thinking this. And despite the time that's passed, they still want vengeance on you. You are now an enemy, and a narcissist will look for any opportunity to hurt you. So the first one is hold grudges. The second one is the faux apology. Narcissists consider themselves better than everybody, better than you. To apologize, they would have to lower themselves to your level, and that's not something that they're willing to do. Narcissists don't think they ever have anything to apologize for. They don't feel guilty. They don't feel remorse. They just don't care. But they do recognize sometimes that they have to say or do something in certain situations. If they're in a situation where you aren't giving them something they want or need, they might have to offer you the faux apology. Now, what my ex would typically do is he would go on the defense. So if I was upset with him about something, he would immediately act defensive. So, for example, he drove drunk with our kids. I was livid about this. And when I said something to him, immediately his reaction was, well, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to say? I think that was his version of an apology. Well, I can't say anything now, but what he was really saying was, shut up, woman. Nothing happened. What do you expect me to do? I drove with the kids. I drove drunk with the kids. They're totally fine. I was always in control. You're just being irrational and out of control like a typical woman. I mean, that's really what he was saying. In his version of it, what am I supposed to do? As if he would have made a different choice if he could have. No, he knew exactly what he was doing. He chose to do this, and he would do it again. For a normal, emotionally healthy adult, a sincere apology would state the wrong and genuinely show remorse. So let's say I was supposed to pick you up at 4 o'clock, but when I got in my car to drive over to your house, I noticed that my gas tank was on empty, so I had to go to the gas station, and now I didn't get to your house until 4:10. So maybe I would say to you, I apologize, I'm so sorry. I went to get my car to head over, and my gas tank was on empty. I had to go to the gas station. In the future, I'll make sure that I checked my gas gauge before I leave the house. I'm sorry. You know I'm sorry. I'm telling you what I'm going to do to rectify the situation in the future. That's not what a narcissist ever does. A narcissist's apologies are never genuine. So they'll range from the shift the blame apology, I'm sorry that you think I did something wrong, to the nothing to apologize for apology, you know I'd never hurt you. What? Yes, you would. That brings us to number 3. The you made me. So you made me cheat on you, steal from you, lie to you, whatever it is. Narcissists are always running from the shame they have inside. A narcissist's core is shame-based, and they are always trying to avoid feeling that shame. They're trying to avoid that self-hatred. So when they do things wrong, they're never going to accept responsibility for it. It's your fault. So your husband cheated on you. Guess what? You made him do it. This is how the narcissists look at things. My ex had a terrible issue with credit cards. He would just charge everything on credit cards. I suspect he was gambling. I don't even know 100% what he spent all this money on credit cards for or on. But it's actually he managed to blame me for it. So I never used the credit cards. It wasn't even my credit card. We always had, thank God, we always had separate finances. So he had these credit cards and he would use them. I never used them, but it was somehow my fault that he used them. He would really say to me, well, the reason that I have all this credit card debt is because I love you and I just can't say no to you. I can't ever deny you anything. If you want something or I think you need it, I have to get it for you. It's because of my love for you. I mean, really, that makes me want to vomit. It's ridiculous. He did all this and he's trying to blame me. His excessive love for me caused this. He doesn't even understand how crazy that sounds, how much I don't believe that. But I think he believes it and he thinks it's true and valid and he's actually romantic. Like I think he wants me to think to myself, oh my gosh, that is so romantic. You put our family in severe debt because you love me so much. Oh my goodness. I mean, that's what he's thinking. But that's a narcissist for you. They don't think. They're not rational people. Number 4 is the narcissistic stare. I've mentioned this on my channel before, so I know some of you have seen this. If you see this, you don't forget it. What it is when a narcissist, you're seeing the narcissist, the real them. They're always wearing a mask, occasionally. Now, in my relationship, I saw this, 4 or 5 times. It wasn't very often, but each time I saw it, you know what you're looking at. It's creepy, it's scary, it's terrifying. So what will happen is that a narcissist will look at you without blinking. They're just staring at you. They're boring into you. There's nothing in their eyes. There's no life. There's no sparkle. They're dull and flat, and they're just looking at you without blinking. It really reminds me, if you've ever watched, these animal shows, and you'll see an animal, in the bush hiding behind, some grass or whatever, and they're stalking their prey, and they're just intently staring at the prey. They're ready to pounce at any time. That's what the narcissist looks like. They are just ready to pounce on you and they just stare at you. And it's so creepy. It's evil. There's something terribly wrong. Even if you weren't looking at the narcissist, you'd be able to feel it because you have this 6th sense inside you. God gives this to you and you can just tell when danger is around. Now, usually the narcissist hides this almost always. It only comes out very occasionally. But when it does, you're seeing the real face of your partner. That's really them. That's who they are underneath everything. So the predatory stare is number 4. The 5th one I'm going to talk about in today's video is smear campaign. Now, a smear campaign is basically when a narcissist speaks poorly about you to other people. You don't realize this when you're first with a narcissist, but you're in a game. You're in a competition. That's how the narcissist looks at it. They're always trying to get people on their side. So typically, if I'm in a relationship with somebody, it's not my habit to speak poorly about them to anybody. I'm in a relationship with them. I don't want people thinking badly of this person. A narcissist isn't like that. They want people to think poorly of you. That's part of their agenda. They want themselves to be thought of as wonderful and you to be thought of as, this poor, wretched person that they have to put up with. That's how they look at it. So at every opportunity, they will speak behind your back, say negative things about you, because what they want, they're trying to line up people on their side so that in the end or in the inevitable situation when the relationship falls apart, they'll have everybody lined up behind them and you'll just be off on your own. My ex enacted a smear campaign in the middle of me having the police over to the house. So the last year of my marriage was really bad. My ex was really losing it. I wasn't giving him narcissistic supply. And this was a huge learning lesson to me. You have to give narcissistic supply to the narcissist, or if they don't have any other source, they will collapse, and they will collapse spectacularly. And this is what was happening to my ex. Things were horrific. I don't remember how many times I had to call the police in the last year of my marriage. It was around 5 times. And each time I would beg him to leave so I didn't have to call the police. Like, literally, please leave, please, please. I don't want to call the police, but I'm going to have to. I felt every time like I had to call the police because he was scaring me. He was intimidating me. He is much bigger than me. He weighs over 100 pounds more than me. He's a foot taller than me. He can be incredibly intimidating. And he would come, he wasn't physically assaulting me, but he has in the past. So I know that he's capable of it. But he would throw things all around. He would throw potted plants at me. He would throw dishes out of the cabinet. He would just do stuff like that. He would try to intimidate me, and he did. He scared me. So I would feel, and at one point, actually, he banged his own head against the wall and was hurting himself and blaming me. So he was out of control and he was dangerous. So there was one specific time where he was out of the house. We had agreed that he was going to be away from the house for, I can't remember how long. It was 2 or 3 days. I'll just say 2 days. So I was literally on the phone with him and he's telling me, all right, I'll stay away for 2 days. We'll talk after 2 days and then we'll see about me coming home. So I agreed with this. Okay, perfect. At the time, my son was not home. My daughter was. So I hang up the phone with him. Not 5 minutes passed when suddenly he barged in the house. He just busted open the door and he's storming in the house, screaming and yelling at me, telling me that this is his house. He pays the mortgage. I have no right to tell him anything. He'll do whatever he wants. He's not going to bother me, but he's living here. There's not going to be no 2 days that he's not here. He's moving in right back in immediately. So I told him, you got to go. You have to go. You already promised you were going to leave. Oh, no, I'm staying. You call the cops then. You tried to get me to leave. He immediately tried to put this into a confrontation with me. Then he starts throwing stuff, throwing plants, his usual thing. He's dirt and glass all over the floor. He's throwing things out of the cabinet, everything. He just going crazy. And my daughter is crying. And I told her, I'm like, go upstairs, go to your room. So she's up in her room freaking out. I found out later, she told me that she was in her room with mace ready to attack her own father. She thought that he was so out of control that he was going to come upstairs and hurt her. I didn't know what he was going to do. So I'm begging him, please leave, please leave, please leave. No, I'm not leaving. You call the cops. Let's see what happens. You'll see that they're not going to have me leave my own house. So he's telling me this. So I called the police. Police come over and he was so out of control. He doesn't understand that if you're out of control, the police aren't going to just tell you it's all right and walk away. So they told him he had to leave. He was irate. It wasn't until they took the handcuffs out and told him, we're going to cuff you if you don't leave. So they literally physically pulled him out of the house. What I found out later was that when they did that, he was standing in the driveway calling his parents. He was enacting a smear campaign at this point. So I was inside the house. My daughter was hysterical, trying to comfort my daughter. I'm also talking to several police officers who are trying to convince me to get a restraining order against my husband at the time. So they're telling me, you need to do this. One police officer is like, ma'am, when I see this is so much trouble. This is a huge red flag. These are the type of people that cause constant issues for their families. I've come to these houses and the women are beat up. You have to get this restraining order. I was terrified to get the restraining order. I was so afraid that if I tried to get the restraining order and I didn't get it, that it would bolster him and I would have no more power. He would know he could do whatever he wanted. So I was really afraid to get the restraining order and they're trying to convince me. So I finally had to sign this paperwork that said, I understand that I'm being advised to get a restraining order, and if I do not get it, the police aren't going to be held responsible for anything that happens to me or my children. So this is what I'm doing inside the house, dealing with this. He's on the driveway calling mommy and daddy in Florida. We live in New Hampshire. He's calling them in Florida, states away, complaining about me. Literally, he's telling his parents that for no reason at all, I just decided to call the police. It doesn't occur to anybody that you cannot have the police come to your home and have them kick you out of your own home for no reason. That just doesn't happen. But he's telling his parents, I just decided to be spiteful for no reason whatsoever. I called the police. And then he did what he always does. He always pretends that I am like this major flirt. It's not true. Don't do this ever. But to him, that's the only reason I get away with things. This is what he convinces himself of every time. He just made this up. That's why I'm flirting with the police. So that is why they sided with me. It doesn't occur to him that he's actually done things wrong. And I never flirt with the police or anybody else. But that's what he says. That's what he's convinced himself of. So he's telling his parents this. Then finally, he left. So he's gone. And my daughter suddenly, now this was a Sunday late afternoon, and my kids go to youth group on Sunday night. So my daughter tells me she wants to go to youth group. And I'm thinking to myself, I can't believe she wants to go to youth group. It was just this huge traumatic situation. I assumed she'd just want to be home with me. And nope, she wanted to go to youth group. So I told her, I'm like, all right. So I drive her to youth group. And on my way home, my phone starts ringing. It's my parents. So I ignored the call. I was like, geez, the last thing I want to do is talk to my parents right now. I was trying to deal. I was still shaken up by the whole incident with my ex and the police coming over and my daughter being all afraid. So I didn't answer the phone. Then over the next 15 minutes, they kept calling over and over and over. So I started to worry that something really bad must have happened to one of my parents. So I called them back. As soon as I got on the phone, my mother started yelling at me. Sharon, how dare you? We heard what you did. You called the police on your husband for no reason. How could you do that? What were you thinking? What's wrong with you? Literally, my ex was in the driveway calling his parents, who put him up in a hotel, by the way. So his parents are rewarding him. He comes, scares, intimidates me, their grandkid. They don't care. The poor guy, they put him up in a hotel. So he's at the hotel watching the game or whatever. Well, I'm getting these calls. So my parents were irate. They were going off on me. So finally, I was like, you know what? You just don't get it. You don't understand what's going on. I got to go. The reality is that I'm not close to my family for a reason. I left home when I was 18 for a reason. There are reasons behind all this. My parents sided with my ex. They believed him over me. So in the middle of this horrible thing, I had my in-laws and my parents all siding with my ex because the poor guy, I just called the police for no reason. I should have just let him, my mother said to me, well, why couldn't you just let him sleep in the basement or something? You had to have him leave the house. You couldn't let him be here. What's wrong with you? Nobody, they didn't understand. But this is my ex, right? He's enacting a smear campaign. Then I found out later that the reason that my daughter wanted to go to youth group in the first place was actually she didn't want to go. But because my son wasn't home and he didn't know at the time during youth group that we had this incident at the house, she went to protect him. She was afraid that what would happen is that if she didn't go, that my ex, her father, would come and pick up our son, her brother, at youth group and hurt him, take him somewhere and hurt him because he wouldn't have had any idea and he would have gotten in the car. This is the type of thing that goes on when you have children with a narcissist, when you're in these horrible situations. Everybody is affected. This person is not healthy. They're not safe. You never know what they're going to do. Not all narcissists will hurt people, but the problem is that you can't know which ones will and which ones won't. So thank you so much for watching this video. I truly appreciate it. I'm very grateful for everybody who has subscribed to my channel. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do so. I make videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on all things related to narcissism. So if all goes well, I will see you Wednesday with part 2 of this series, and I hope everybody has a wonderful week. God bless.